Yes, when I sit down, I cannot get up. When I get up, I don't want to leave. It's age. I mean, sometimes.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone, please come into the Makkah Hall. Lecture is about to begin.
It's my close to the heart. What about a back rest? One of those?
Assalamu alaikum. So,
Dr. Ali, you need a chair?
yeah, find a comfortable spot because we have some time to go. If you want to get one of those cushions, please get those. You can get one, yes. And inshallah, if you have kids, I personally think that if your kids are older than 5 years old, then they should be with you. Does that make sense? Right? Because a 5-year-old is not a baby. You can have him sit down, you can tell him, okay, play with your hands, with your toys, just don't make noise, but stay with me here. If you leave him outside, they're wrestling, they're like running and all that type of stuff. So inshallah, if you have kids here, older than 5, please ask them to come in and sit with you, inshallah. Now, we have our guest with us, Sheikh Anisul Haque. Obviously, we have all heard about him, we know a little bit about him, and inshallah, in the end, we will ask him some more specific questions to get to know him. But inshallah, before we lose too much time, we'll start off tonight's lecture. So,
Muhammad.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم نبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما نافعا يا رب العالمين. أما بعد. So as Imam Jawad, inshallah, he already introduced me a little bit, but I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Anisul Haque. From Houston, Texas. I was actually born in New York, in Queens, but moved to Houston at a very young age. We moved to Houston, and maybe a few weeks later, I turned 4 years old. So I've been there most of my life, except for 6 years. Mashallah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allowed me to go to Medina with my wife and at the time my only son, who's sitting right there, mashallah. His name's Ibrahim. we went and I went to go study there and did 2 years of the Arabic program, the Ma'had لتعليم اللغة العربية لغير المحدثين. And then I went into Kulliyat al-Sharia, or the faculty of Sharia, which specializes in fiqh and usul fiqh, which was a 4-year bachelor's program. This was right after I completed my bachelor's from the University of Houston in Management Information Systems. And after graduating from Medina, we moved to Malaysia, where I was planning to pursue my master's while working at a Islamic international school. It's called Seven Skies Islamic International School. It's under a da'wah organization called Mercy Mission, headed by Sheikh Dr. Tawfiq Chaudhry, who's originally from Bangladesh but lives in Australia. So it was a good experience, but that was cut short because of COVID. We actually, I was working and I was trying to do, and this is my daughter, she's 3 years old. So it was a good experience, mashallah, and but we couldn't really do what we set out to do there because COVID cut it short. I wasn't able to begin my master's because I was working at the same time. So inshallah, I reapplied and I plan on restarting my master's. Actually, this month is when registration starts for classes. So I ask you all to make dua for me in this regard, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant myself and anyone else who is trying to study anything at all, doesn't matter the subject, as long as we're doing it with sincere intentions and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq and accept from us. Currently, I am working in Sugarland, Texas, in Mariam Islamic Center. I know a lot of you may have, I've met a lot of you and you've told me you know somebody in Houston, or you have a friend or a family member in Houston, or at least you know of Sugarland, Texas, because I believe there's a YouTube documentary just about Sugarland, Texas, about the sheer number of not just Muslims, but South Asians that live there. So that includes like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. There's quite a large population there. But mashallah, there's a lot of Muslims there. The center there has a good, large community. I am currently teaching full-time tahfeel Quran, so memorization of the Quran. So I'm teaching full-time tahfeel Quran as well as doing some programs in the evening, and also just around the city in general. I do some khutbah, some Jum'ah khutbahs, and also during Ramadan, I lead Taraweeh. I've been, they mentioned that I memorized the Quran at age 10, but since maybe age 11 or 12, I had been leading Taraweeh just in Houston. I've never really left Houston to lead. I did almost come to Savannah one time. I know Savannah's like closer to the Florida border, right? But I did almost go there one time, but I ended up staying in Houston. So I'm teaching at Mariam Islamic Center. I'm helping out with the programming at the masjid as well, trying to coordinate some of the programs, as well as trying to improve the current programming in their full-time Hifz Quran Academy. And also, like I mentioned, doing lectures and khutbahs and classes around the city. me and my wife together, we're starting a online website and store. It's called My Kids HQ. We started a podcast as well that to kind of promote Islamic content, because that is our main focus, to provide high quality Islamic educational content and resources focused on kids and children. So the website has not been launched yet, but we do have our Facebook page and Instagram page as well at My Kids HQ. We've already recorded 3 episodes, or published 3 episodes of Stories of the Prophets for Kids. You can find it on, if you go to our Instagram page, we have a Linktree link where you can find the podcast. Um, so we've done the story of Adam, the story of Sheep, and the story of Idris, alayhi salam. And also for the parents, we also have a podcast that we just launched yesterday, uh, pertaining to issues in the community as a whole, but dealing a lot with like issues that parents may have with children and raising children, and from different aspects, whether it's mental, psychological, financial, just different issues that may arise in the community where we, either talk amongst ourselves or we bring on a guest to speak with. So we launched that as well. That's called My Kids Conversations, and the first episode was launched, which talks about more. Our first guest was my sister, who's a PhD in psychology, with a focus in therapy, family and marital therapy. So we spoke about family issues, raising children, psychological issues, trauma, intergenerational trauma, and whatnot. So if you all would like to listen in on that, then you can find that on our page, inshallah. And we greatly appreciate it if you could spread it to others. And once again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Now, as I mentioned, I graduated from the College of Sharia with a specialization in fiqh usul. So my topic for tonight is going to be on fiqh, right? But it's more of the history of fiqh, the evolution of fiqh. And you may have heard this term before. Right? In Arabic, it's called Tarikh al-Fiqh al-Islami, or Tarikh al-Tashri'. And this means the history of either the canonization of law, which means like how Islamic law came to be, or fiqh, which is basically, when you say fiqh, these are like Islamic rulings. And the most basic way to explain it is what is allowed and what is not allowed in Islam. So there's a history behind it. And if you understand the history behind it, then you'll get an idea of a lot of the rulings that we have today and why it is. Because you tend to have some areas and some people that think that, look, if something's mentioned in the Quran and something's mentioned in the Hadith, and that's all we need, right?
How come all the scholars don't agree on everything?
Right? As Imam Jawad mentioned, why don't all the scholars just agree upon everything if it's all in the Quran and all in the Sunnah? And Google, right? Everything's on Google. All the Quran and the Sunnah is available on Google, right? You can find it all there. But if I were to tell you that all we need is the Quran and the Sunnah in this deen, in this religion, would you agree with me? Yes or no? Right? It sounds like a true statement. That yes, all we need is the Quran and the Sunnah, nothing else. But it's actually not entirely true. We need the Quran and the Sunnah, and then there's stuff that comes after that as well. What are these things? We'll go into some of these things and the history behind all of them, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But for instance, why would I say that? Because it's like we didn't have mobile devices at the time of the Prophet and his companions. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa radiallahu anhu ajma'in. So it's like, how do we know? How do we know if this device is allowed or not?